If you're grieving, it can feel so lonely, but I hope you know you're not alone. I've been talking with others about loss and grief on this podcast, All There Is, for nearly 4 years. I want to share some of the moving conversations I've had. Grief is a bond we all share. Do you talk to your dad?
Yeah, there are moments where...
If it's too personal, it's fine.
It's fine. It's really not. There are moments where I'll sit, and I'm always closest to Dad when I'm in the middle of nowhere, when I'm out in the bush. And there are absolutely moments where I'll be hit with this sense of it's warmth. It's like something kind of wraps around me. And I will absolutely sit and just say, how do I go forward? How do you move forward? Particularly for me as a young guy and in the public eye, going through all of the motions that we go through, being scrutinized so much, and my dad always being this constant thread in my life and people always talking about him. Sometimes one of the nicest things is to just sit. For me, it's in nature. And I just kind of just let it all go. I let it all sort of pour out. And it feels like I'm kind of letting him in. And sometimes I sit and just go, what's next? How do I put one foot in front of the other? And there's no answer, but it almost feels like there's a resolution that comes out of that. There are moments that I've found that feel like he's trying to say something.
I was growing really, really upset with the amount of people visiting my dad. His room was an unending parade of many, many people, and they were all lovely and well-intentioned, but it put me in the position of them grieving and me having to comfort them, and I was starting to resent that I couldn't just be in there with my dad. I went outside to sit in the car to get a breather, and I called Kristen to just vent about it. I mean, this is unbelievable, this story. I was complaining, and she said, "It's okay. I'm here. Look to the left." Mind you, we live in California, and I'm in Detroit. And I looked to my left, and she's standing there, 7 months pregnant. She knew I was struggling, and she had flown and not told me and figured out where this hospital was. It was standing next to the car. Yeah, what a champ, And then, so then we went in and visited my dad. And yeah, she came in and he got to feel her belly.
I just want to read what you wrote about that moment. You said, "She lifted her shirt up and he put his hand on her swollen stomach. He left it there for the better part of an hour. He was smiling from ear to ear, sitting contentedly, unable to put together a sentence, but still capable of connecting to the new family member we were creating. He wasn't going to make it to the birth, but that didn't get in the way of him meeting the new baby. It was an emotional and triumphant moment, one I will never forget. If I live to be 1,000, I will still be in debt to my wife for giving him that one last thrill."
She's a gangster, y'all.
You actually wrote a song based on a particular episode with Stephen Colbert.
Yes. I was walking around. I live in Brooklyn. I was walking around listening to the podcast, and I was so moved by the story Stephen shared about losing his father and his brother.
Stephen's incredible.
And that episode is so special.
It's a great episode.
Really special.
Yeah.
When I speak his name, my voice gives out. Even after all these years, but I want my son to know me now, so my son will see my tears. My son will see my tears.
Can I hug you, Anderson? I really thank you for that song because you brought me a lot of healing too. Thank you so much for having those conversations.
You know, I should have listened to it beforehand.
I feel really, really honored. I told you it's plagiarism.
Jesus.
It's
Beautiful.
Thank you.
It's really beautiful.
Thank you. It was really powerful to hear you both. Oh, I don't know. It really unlocked something for me to be just like, to feel how much weight it can lift to just let someone hear and see your own like pain. And it's really helpful, even though it doesn't look helpful, it looks miserable, but it's really helpful to move through. Otherwise, we just get stuck.
You write about rage at the people who murdered your sister. Do you still feel that rage?
Yeah. That's so I'm glad you pointed that out, because it's I think there was a part of me that for a while was quite happy to let it take over, and just to be angry and not settled on anything, and to kind of the only target in sight really was myself. So I took some time to beat myself down for a while, but that rage is righteous. It comes from the fact that I couldn't stop them, that I couldn't help her, that I couldn't save my sister's life. So I raged at myself, raged at God, raged at them. But the circumstances of it all led me to a kind of peace in the end. But that guy's still in there. He's still around.
Has retracing Karen's last hours and last day, has that ameliorated some of the rage? Has it lessened?
Yeah, it has. Yeah. It's for a long time in this place where I couldn't forgive myself for what had happened to Karen. And of course, that probably made no real sense. It just had emotional sense, and it had emotional weight that felt true. And I think, maybe that has helped save me quite a bit. I certainly don't blame myself anymore, and I did for a while. The lingering image of Karen was always her corpse. And she didn't deserve that. That's why I apologized to her, because she was such a glorious girl, such a wonderful girl. And to have allowed myself to remember her in any other way than that was, I did myself a disservice. And I didn't really honor her life that way. I honored them more, and they didn't deserve it. So we got there. And we did get there in the end. I mean, Karen is with me. And
so how do you get there?
We're both happy. You just got to go through the process. Find out what the truth is. The truth is her life is what identified her, not her death.
I heard you say something a while ago, several years ago, that after your mom died, you felt like your psyche had been rearranged, that things tasted different. Mm-hmm. Can you explain?
Probably not, but that's true. And it still is. I'm still adjusting to a new reality. Like,
do you feel like a different person now?
Yeah.
She's gone?
No, I feel like the same person. I just feel deeper in the same person, more expanded, more cracked open. It's like the heart breaks and breaks and breaks and lives by breaking in times of great loss. And you expand, hopefully. You become bigger. The heart becomes bigger. You become more confused and less certain of anything. And for me, what I want to be is more curious about what we're all doing here, rather than narrow and driven and certain. I want it to break me open. I want to be lost. It feels healthier than to feel like you know where you're heading. And
it sounds scary.
Yeah, it is. And real. It's like the rest is illusion. Like the idea that we have any jurisdiction over where we're going or control, it's a fabrication. I really related to what you said about that drive to to create a life, to build something, to run towards achievement and success. When my mum passed, I think like 2/3 of my ambition died with her. Or let me say it differently, 2/3 of my previous ambition, or the style, or the type, or the feeling of that ambition died. It's unequivocal now. Like I know for a fact that this is a short life, and the things that mattered before don't matter anymore. And I think when I say things taste differently, I think things can taste much more sweet now because of the sorrow that I've felt, and they can taste much more bitter.
You wrote something that you said, I'm not in any rush to go wherever they went, but a lot of days I'm just sort of walking through it, getting where I need to go and doing what I need to do. I had no clue that things would change so dramatically for me once they were gone. Was I so tethered to my mom and brother that I can't find my own bearing? It feels that way. They were my home base, my reality check, because they both knew me from the start. And you also said, it's not like either one could have done anything about dying, but from time to time I feel like, why did he all leave me here?
Yeah.
I asked that,
Yeah. But the answer to that is because we have stuff we got to get done. That's why. And we're not supposed to. This is not our time. It's not our time. We got kids and grandkids, and they need to know us. They need to know us. That's why. That's my belief, you know. And it happens. It just happens. Yeah. Yeah.
I find myself asking that question, like, why did you leave?
Yeah, why did you leave me? There were 3 of us.
I also realize when I ask that it's very much, it's the question like the 10-year-old me is asking.
Yeah.
Like it's like the angry question of a hard-hearted child of like, why did you all leave?
Yeah. I once flirted with thinking about leaving. And then I thought, what a terrible thing that would be to do to my kid, to knowingly do to my kid, who actually likes me. You know, she's a really good person and a fine woman, and she and her husband have raised 3 fine, very bizarre children. And why would you do that to them? Why would you leave them with that? So, decided not to. Yeah.
I'm glad.
Yeah, me too, I think.
The death of your mom, how was that different? How was that grief different than grief you had experienced throughout your life?
It's a really good question, Anderson, because I think that, the death of a parent is something for which we, at least conceptually, have some kind of preparation. And yet I also knew that she was walking with mental illness and that her brain hurt and that she was suffering. But that didn't necessarily prepare me. My mother's death was traumatic and unexpected because it was death by suicide, and I found her. And so it had this calamitous dynamic. My grief was in lockstep with trauma because of the manner of her death and the fact that I found her. And so what I needed to do first was like vomit, I held my mother as she was dying. It was a pietà. And there was people need to be aware that it's a bit of a graphic story and take care of themselves. And there was blood, and I just needed to process the fact that I was with my mother's blood. I'm so glad I was there. I had to do the trauma piece first, right? That was just necessary because it was in the cells of my body. I'm so glad I was there because even when I walked in that room and I saw that she had harmed herself, the first thing out of my mouth was, Mama, I see how much you've been suffering.
You said
And
that
it
to
is okay. It is okay to go. It's okay to go. I am here. It is okay to let go. I love you. Go see your daddy. Go see Papa Judd. Go be with your people.
And she heard you.
Oh, she heard me. And I just got in the bed with her and held her and talked to her and said, let it all go. Be free. All was forgiven long ago. All was forgiven long ago. Leave it all here. Take nothing with you. Just be free. And I did that for, I don't know what it was, 14, 15 minutes. Just held her.
It's an extraordinary blessing that you were able to do that. Shouldn't I have evolved to a place where I can sort of think fondly of the memories I have without it, bringing tears to my eyes?
I think those tears are holy. And they speak to how much you loved your father and your brother and your mother. Those tears are the current expression of that relationship. They bring you tears.
But it's so infused with sort of, just sadness and longing and
Yes.
all of these things have sort of, things I don't know about them. Can this go on forever, sort of feeling like I'm hostage to this?
I think what happens as we begin to become less avoidant and resistant to it is that we begin to develop a companionship with it. This is part of what I call
Companionship with grief.
Yes, this is what I call the apprenticeship with sorrow. We begin to stop fighting it and begin to see that it's actually the way in which my deepest self comes fully present. And the soul does want to move this. Grief was never meant to be carried along in our bodies, stored. It's meant to move so that we can stay current, that we can stay alive and present to the current of life as well.
I remember when my mom died, I divided people up. Oh, both your parents are alive, you go stand on that side of the street. Because you don't know what it's like till you lose a parent. It just changes everything. And I just divided people up like that. Like, you have no idea. Really? Both your parents are alive and happy? You just wait. You just wait. And you're getting them a what for Christmas? You're getting your mom a CD for Christmas? She's going to die. And then you're getting her that, a thoughtless.
It is interesting you say that, because I wonder if I sometimes feel like I'm the only one walking around thinking about them all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
I cannot believe I lived through my mother's death. I can't believe it.
In what way?
Because I just thought I would just be I wouldn't be able to live without her.
Or just without her love.
Without her love, yeah.
I think it may be different with other people because they'd say, well, I still have my father's. But I never had that. So when my mother died, it was like...
He was Mama's boy.
I'm alone. I don't have anybody in my corner, that way. But I just adored her. Just adored her. And it happened really fast, she called and said she had cancer, and then 3 months later she was dead. I feel like my job as a writer is to get the world to love my mother as much as I did. And I don't know why it's so important to me, but I felt like she deserved the world's love.
One of my most beautiful moments I ever had as a country music singer is I was in North Carolina, and I'm doing my meet and greet. And, meet and greets, you're meeting fans and taking pictures, and there's a lot of chaos. But this boy, he was 9 years old. He looked up at me, and he had these big tears in his eyes, and he looked at me. He goes, "Mr. Luke, I lost my sister a couple of months ago, and I want to know how you get through life." And when that 9-year-old Anderson, when that 9-year-old told me that, I dropped down on my knees and just did the best job I could, in that moment to help that young man. And
I said, buddy, you talk to your sister like she is still here. You treat her like she is here every day of your life. You talk to her when you go to bed, and it was just, and that was, when that boy did that, it really affirmed my need to talk about my loss. I mean, when you're able to touch a kid that age, I was like, yeah, anytime I can talk about this, it's the right thing to do. And there's just so much of that going on in the world. And I think some people have been insulated from it, thank God. But then the people that have tragedy, I hope they can hear our stories and understand they're not alone and their journeys with it.
I mean, the fact that that 9-year-old boy could vocalize that and say that to you in that moment is incredible.
I looked up at his parents, and his parents, they went there knowing that he wanted to ask me that. And gosh, there wasn't it was one of the most powerful things that I've ever been a part of. And I just did my best in the moment. And it really, really changed me a lot too in that moment that I was able to help him.
What we do is we forget that these losses are often the most important and animating aspects of who we are, that we are not just defined by it, but sometimes our accomplishments are issuing out of that. I don't think I'd be sitting here talking to you, Anderson, if my mother hadn't developed cancer when I was a little boy and died when I was 11 years old, a few months short of my 12th birthday.
You don't think you would have had the career, the life path that you've had?
No, definitely not. Grief, actually, as painful as it is, as isolating as it can be for some people, and the manifestations that it seems that both you and I have, is also a gift that can't be squandered either. We can't not try to transform it, at least, into something that, if it doesn't ultimately help us, or we don't think it helps us, that could help other people.
Is there something you've learned in your grief that would be helpful for others?
Well, the main thing I would just tell people is allow yourself all the different things that you feel in losing somebody. You do crazy things when you lose somebody, like go shopping. Like all of a sudden you just leave the house and buy something expensive, or do something that out of character, or don't judge yourself. Let yourself be angry, or let yourself not feel anything. Don't feel guilty. Just allow all your cells and all of your being to go through its process. I mean, I cried more for Fred years after he died. It was like I was in such shock losing him, and I had so much responsibility, and I had 2 young children, and financially we were at an all-time low. And then my brother died a month later. So a lot of the things that I felt, were more intense years later.
And that's okay.
Yeah, there's no rules. And there shouldn't be any rules. And there's all of these phrases like time heals all wounds. It doesn't. Don't look to be healed. You have a sacred wound, take care of it. Don't let it get infected. But it's not necessarily going to heal. You just learn to live with it.
There's no rules in grief.
No, I don't think there should be. People expect people to cry when somebody dies. That's wrong. There's no telling how people even nervously laugh when somebody dies that they care about. They don't know why they do that. I don't judge anyone by their behavior. I've heard people judge children because they were playing. When we lost a little boy in our neighborhood, he was only 4. I think I was 6. And there was a wake in the house, and he was in his little coffin. And the cartoons came on, and we put them on, and we just rolled it. It was a big TV that was on wheels, and rolled it over so he could watch cartoons with us. We weren't sitting around crying. That's how we processed it. We watched cartoons with him. Did that mean we were heartless? I think that people just have to process things in their own way, and they shouldn't be hard on themselves. It's hard enough to lose someone without judging how you're, reacting to it.
Do you feel grief in your life? Is grief something you are cognizant of feeling?
Yes. I think that I've always treated grief with get as much space as you can between myself and the grief.
Well,
do whatever you can.
Me too.
Right. So that's I've always, because everybody talks about, time heals, and that's true. But the grief process is what allows time to heal. I'm 48 now, so I find the last 3 or 4 years of my life, that's become all that stuff that you bury, which I do great at. Kind of rub some dirt on it and keep rocking. Comes back. So yeah, and I had a period of time where a number of things happened to me that were traumatic or grief stuff. And at that time in my career, I just kept going. Another show, another whatever. Just keep rocking, keep going, keep working. And it's not what I would recommend to anybody.
Well, I'm 58, and I just woke up to realizing I've never grieved, and that's why I'm doing this, because I'm trying to figure out what it means and learn how to do it, because I don't know.
You literally went to war zones to get it.
Yeah, and you talk about putting some dirt on it. I was putting layers and layers of dirt, and thousands of miles between me and it. But you're right, it gets buried, but it doesn't go away.
Was that learned behavior, or is that something?
It's what I, as a little kid, figured out. I was so angry. I was so filled with rage. I used it as rocket fuel to propel myself forward, and I could outwork anybody.
Yeah.
I could jump on a plane, abandon friendships, whatever. Work is the thing that I latched onto like a rocket, and it saved me until it doesn't.
I was going to say that there's the thing. I would say the same thing for me. It's something that you just kind of. To me, it was always space. It's just get as much space as I can. 2 weeks, 1 month, 6 weeks, It's not healthy, but it's the way I've always dealt with it.
Mm. Do you find that different now?
Yeah.
Because you've taken a break from recording, and I wondered how much of that is just like catching your breath.
I think some of it is family and kids too. You get older in life. I've got 2 boys. You understand that we all have trauma. Life is going to have trauma. And I was never very well prepared, in my opinion, to deal with that at the times it happened, because the times that it happened, at least specifically with Vegas, it was a traumatic event. This is not a sick parent or something that I see coming. It's something I could prepare for. It was that. And I did a horrible job at that and other things, but just figuring out how to deal with it. And my way to deal with it was just continue to keep your head down and play the next show, get on the bus. I lost my brother right after this.
Yeah, in a year you had life-threatening surgery. You had a blood clot that they discovered, and boom, you had to go to surgery.
Right.
Then a couple months later, there was the shooting in Vegas, and then your brother Brandon died June 2018.
All within a year. So I had 3 different things. I confronted my own mortality, right? And then I had 2 kind of very traumatic events. So I went through a number of things within a year that I had not went through really in my life. And I played a show after my brother died. We buried him, and I played a show 4 days later because I had a show, and I knew he would want me to play the show. He would want me to do this, that kind of thing. They would want me to keep going, keep plugging. It's all these things you go in your head. And that's right. It's not wrong that they would. But I didn't spend any time dealing with it. So I just kept playing, kept going. But I look back on it now, it's just, I'm not sure that was the right thing to do.
Do you feel like you have a relationship with Hirsch still and that it grows?
That I definitely feel. The way that I love Hirsch today is different than how I loved him yesterday, or last week, or last month, or last year, or on October 6th. It really is like bamboo and continues to grow and develop and change shapes and textures. And what I have learned that's most revelatory for me is that love is stronger than time, and love is stronger than death. And I don't think that about hate. I actually think hatred is this very powerful emotion. But I think with time, it can peter out. And I think love keeps growing. That's what's so glorious. Because that gives me comfort knowing that this love is going to keep changing and shifting and curving around, and
It's not going to disappear.
no, it's there no chance in the world. Even what Irene was saying, that gives me hope. 80 years from now, you're still going to love this kid.
But you're still going to feel pain.
Yeah, but that's all right. It's okay. I'll take it. It's the price.
Because you get the love too.
Yeah, it's a package deal.